I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Hey guys, if you like what I'm doing, click the Amazon banner at the top of the homepage on FascinationStreetPod.com and do all of your shopping through Amazon. Once you click on it and it takes you to Amazon, you can bookmark it or add it to your favorites and you won't have to go to my site each time. It helps me keep the show going, and again, thanks for listening. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is a return guest, only the second one in the show's history. This is Seth Harwood, The Return. As many of you know, Seth Harwood is a crime fiction author that I've been friends with for over a decade. And in this episode, we get caught up with each other. We talk about some of his previous work, some of my favorites and some of his favorites. Plus, we talk about his new book, which is available everywhere, called The Maltese Jordans. It's a what-if story about a pair of Michael Jordan shoes that's so rare and so sought after that they could be worth millions of dollars because of why they exist and the story behind them. We also talk about how researching and writing this book sent him down a crazy rabbit hole into sneaker culture. It's a very original story in a day and age where there's not many of those. And there is a giveaway in this episode, so pay attention. So enjoy, folks. This is author Seth Harwood Returns.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Seth Harwood. How are you doing today, man? It's been a long time since we had you on the show.
I'm so happy to be here. I really want to thank you for having me on.
You mean again? You know you're only the second repeat guest ever.
No.
Yes.
I love being on this podcast.
So, a long time ago, you and I became acquainted. Actually, I became acquainted with your work through a website called patiobooks.com, and that was 2008 or 9 or something like that. It was a long time ago.
It's like 10 years ago.
It was 10 years ago.
That's boggle-minding.
Yeah, you want to hear something even crazier?
No.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for stopping by. Have a great night. So, the password on my voicemail for my cell phone is still 5509.
That would be Palms Sunday 2009.
That would be. And why is that date special?
That was when the first book launched. No, you know what? I think 5509 was the day that the Young Junius pre-sale knocked out.
Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty sure about that because the initial release of 5509 was when Jack Wakes Up came out from Random House.
Correct.
Nationwide. And that was the big release that happened after the initial small time release, which had a big Palm Sunday event. 5509 was a Tuesday. And that was when Jack Wakes Up was released in bookstores nationwide from Three Rivers Press, part of Random House.
And I still use one of those postcards as my bookmark when I read things.
The one with all the dates on the back?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have one of those. Exactly one.
I have a couple.
My favorite is the card that says "Your boy is back" and it has like the "This Is Life" cover on it.
Yeah.
You got one of those too?
I do.
Young Junius bookmark too. Oh man, we're going back.
For those of you who are listening who might not know, Seth Harwood is a writer. He writes, how would you describe your writing?
Crime fiction.
Crime fiction. Okay. I thought you were going to say noir or something super specific. So crime fiction. And you have a character called Jack Palms, who basically is a sort of a has-been actor who kind of embarks accidentally on a second career. Is that a fair say?
He's looking to make that money, and he just kind of becomes, I don't want to say jack of all trades, but he just starts taking the gigs as they come.
He does. Now, at one point I I shouted at John Krasinski on Twitter that he needs to play Jack Palms. And don't you have some tangential relationship to his family or something?
Yeah, he went to my high school, and I played basketball and was really close friends with his oldest brother. There's 3 brothers, and 2 of them were on my basketball team in high school. They're really good guys. I actually asked Kevin, the oldest one, if he could pass along the new book to John, and that he's not. No, that's not happening either. How's it going, man?
It's going all right. I can't complain. I mean, like the last 2 hours has been a little stressful, but other than that, it's been great.
What's going on the last 2 hours?
My wife works out of town a lot, and so she, flies to different cities all over the fucking country. And right now she's in Seattle, and she flew in yesterday, and she landed in Seattle at like 11 o'clock in the morning. And then, she got her rental car from National Rental Car, you cocksuckers. And she, went straight into the place where she's supposed to work. And then when she got done, less than 8 hours later, she came out and one of the tires was flat.
Oh.
And she's just a 5 foot tall, little bitty tiny woman all alone in this big giant fucking city with a flat tire. And then Enterprise, National Car Rental, they just fucked her like over and over again. They're just a bunch of assholes.
Oh,
and
man.
She's been renting a car from them every week for about the last 5 years in like 12 different states. And she's, part of their elite program or whatever, and they still just fucked her. So like for the last 2 hours, she's been sitting at like the closest National Rental Car waiting for them to go find a car that they can give her, because they're like, oh, we don't have any cars, but customer service told her to go to that location. So she's got dropped off, and now she's just sitting there in a strange fucking city waiting for them to find a car somewhere and bring it over there. Oh, it's terrible.
Damn. Can she like take a Lyft or an Uber to the hotel? She should go with Enterprise because they pick you up.
Yeah, you would think so, but guess what? Those assholes are owned by the same fucking company.
Damn, man, you are angry.
I am furious. Oh, I'm so mad because there's nothing I can do. She's 2,500 miles away from me, and I can't take care of her.
Oh, man. Your real Papa Bear is coming out.
Son of a bitch. I hate these assholes. And these are the same assholes who fucked me when I went to Burbank. That was when I first started my podcast. So I flew to California to interview a bunch of people for my show to kind of, get it rolling, get a bunch of interviews.
Really?
Yeah.
You flew out?
Yeah.
Damn.
So I flew out, and before I left, I had, rented a car through National, and they were like, yeah, the car will be ready for you. It'll be waiting at Burbank Airport. I'm like, cool. I'm driving it back to San Antonio. That's how it's going to roll. So then I go to fucking National Car Rental at the airport, and they're like, we're going to need the very specific credit card that you used when you booked this. I'm like, that's at my house. I don't have that.
That's awesome.
I had like $12,000 in my checking account, which is dumb. So I handed them my debit card, and I was like, here, there's $12,000 in that account. Like, that should be more than enough. And they're like, oh, we won't take a debit card. I'm like, what? So they wouldn't even give me a car. Ugh, I was so mad. So then I had to call my kid to go to my house and into my little secret hidey hole place and pull out my fucking credit card and overnight it to me in California so that I could rent a car to get home. I was so mad. And then now they're fucking my wife.
It sounds like you've been cuckolded, my friend.
It's what it feels like. Oh my gosh.
You should show them those shorts you have with the suspenders.
They're capri pants, not shorts. Thank you very much.
They will not mess with you. Isn't it better to say that they're shorts? Not for nothing, but don't you come out looking a little better if you say that they're shorts?
Well, I would never say they're capris. I only said that to
you. You just did.
Listening. No, but
you just did.
God damn.
You just did. In my day, we called those clam diggers. These aren't capris. These are clam diggers.
All right, enough about me.
We got to talk about the Maltese Jordans. I want to talk about the Maltese Jordans. I love the Maltese Jordans. A big part of the Maltese Jordans, as you well know, is sneaker culture, sneaker heads.
I'm going to pause you. So the Maltese Jordans, guys, is Seth Harwood's newest book. It's out right now. Scroll down into the show notes. There'll be a link to buy that book on Amazon. It's available in Kindle, and it's available in an actual Dead Tree version. And if you subscribe to his Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Seth Harwood, you can listen to him read you the book. Okay, now go ahead.
Yeah, it'll be available on Audible very soon. And on my website, sethharwood.com, you can buy a copy from me that I will sign and send to you happily. I love that. Anyway, a big part of the book is sneaker culture, sneakerheads, NBA history, and mid to late 90s, Michael Jordan sneakers, the Air Jordan Enterprise. And I ended up really going down a rabbit hole to find out all about sneakers and just sort of unleashed my inner sneaker demon that had been sort of dormant since my early 20s. And in a vast number of web searches about sneakers, I came across this online TV show created by Complex called Quick Strike. Oh
Is
my
that
God.
the one that has like a DJ Clark Kent or some shit?
Exactly. It has DJ Clark Kent and Russ Bankston. Those are the two guys that host it. Love the show. I watched way too much of it as I was researching this book. And I recently tweeted to Russ Bankston, hey, love the show. Did this book. Want to send you a copy. And as soon as I did that, he followed me and hearted my tweet, which was cool. And so then I started DMing him. And today he wrote back and gave me his address. And I'm really excited that I heard from Russ Bankston of Quick Strike. And now I can send him a copy of the book. Yo, Russ, props.
How fucking cool is that, man?
It's so cool. Clark Kent is really cool also. Well, Russ Bankston also did some writing. In his older days, he wrote for Slam Magazine and an offshoot of Slam Magazine called Slam Kicks. And one of the research books that I have is the Slam Kicks. They have this book on basketball sneakers, and there's a piece in there by Russ Bankston. So he was a writer, and he worked for Complex Writing for a long time.
So a few years ago, I was listening, I think it was a TED Talk, and it was this guy who was talking about sneaker culture. And I don't know if everybody listening is aware of this, but the number one selling shoe is Nike Air Jordans. And the number two selling shoe is Nike Air Jordan resale. That's crazy. They beat everybody else. The resale of their shoes beats everybody else.
Oh, you mean people buying them and then reselling them?
Yep.
Oh.
That's more popular than any Adidas or any Under Armour or any of that shit. Any stupid ass Yeezys.
Well, the business heads would tell you that means that Nike is leaving too much money on the table and should be putting out a lot more sneakers and having more supply. And I think that Nike's been listening to that. And so they've really been saturating the market in the last couple of years. And I think the resale market has gone way down. But I'll give you another stat that blows my mind. If you look at the year by year sales of sneakers, 2018, 2017, 2019, every year the Michael Jordan signature sneakers or Michael Jordan's line of sneakers outsell LeBron, Kobe, KD, Steph Curry, anyone else you can name. You add up all the sneaker sales of their signature sneakers, less than Michael Jordan. To this day, still, year by year. Forget everything Jordan sold in the 90s. Every year, more Jordan sneakers sell than all those other guys combined.
I don't know if I believe that because what about Big Baller? Did you have a heart attack?
That sound you hear is the Big Baller sales rolling in across the country. Big Baller brand.
Hey, real quick, what's his name? Zion? Who's his sneaker going to be since Nike
He's definitely
left him?
going to go with Nike.
Even though they hurt him?
With the falling thing and the sneaker exploding?
Yeah.
Oh my God. He's going to stick with them and they're going to pay him even that much more because they owe him now. He's going to go with Nike and stick with Nike, and his contract is going to be giant.
I will make you a $1 bet
Yep.
that he goes with not Nike.
There's no one else now. That's the thing. There's
he's going to
nobody
go
else.
with Under Armour, or he's going to go with Adidas, and their whole campaign for the first few years is going to be like, our shoes won't explode on this fool. This guy's too much of an athlete for Nike, is what they're going to say.
Bet you $1. Done.
Done. It's on tape, Holmes. $1.
Oh my God. I can't see him not going with Nike. Nike's kind of the only game in town. Everything else is like a weird offshoot that nobody cares about. Steph is kind of doing his Under Armour thing, but I don't know. Maybe he's doing all right with Under Armour. I don't know. There was a big thing about KD going to Under Armour when his Nike contract ended up recently. And yeah, he didn't go to Under Armour. He stayed with Nike. And I think that's what they all do, basically. But Kanye left. That was the whole thing about the Red Octobers.
Yeah, I want you to tell that story.
Right.
I mean, I know the story, but I want you to tell it because it's a huge misstep on Nike's part, I think. And it goes back to what you were saying about how Nike may have left some money on the table with their production. And I feel like that sort of applies to this Yeezy story you're about to tell.
Oh, my God. First and foremost, Kanye's crazy. You know that, right? This dude
Yes.
crazy. You
He's
saw the
insane.
thing where he's talking to Trump. Dude crazy. So in all the Nike contracts, the only one who has a royalty clause or like a profit sharing is Jordan. And Kanye wanted that in his contract and they wouldn't give it to him. So he walked and he went to Adidas because Adidas would give him a profit sharing thing. And fine, they did that. But I don't think that Nike lost on that. I mean, Yeezy is making a ton of money for Adidas, and Kanye's helping them put Adidas on the map. But what else does Adidas have? They have like the James Harden shoe that no one cares about. I couldn't even tell you what that thing looks like, and nothing else. So they're like all on board with Kanye. Let him do his thing. I don't know. I think it's fine that Nike didn't like roll over for him.
Well, no, it's not that, but it's the fact that they just, you know, sort of petulantly in the middle of the night, they just dropped all of his fucking Red Octobers, you know, in the dark of the night just to get him out of their hair.
But I think
You know
that's
what I mean?
fine. Like they had stock of it. The contract got broken. They had like X thousand pairs in the vault, and they're like, yeah, so this is done. We just got to sell these off. So what happened was that made them so sought after that everyone got them, bought them up, wanted them. They became a super hot commodity. They were going for like $5,000 a pair or more. If you look at it, you're not like, oh my God, that's the best sneaker I've ever seen in the world. But because of the scarcity of them, that's why they became so big. And so ultimately Nike was like, yeah, we don't care how much people are making on these after we sell them. Like we're not going to start charging $5,000 retail per sneaker. That's crazy. Even though they do have a couple of pairs that are like that. But you know, they just started putting out so many more pairs of Jordan retros. And then when they come out, they have so many more pairs manufactured so that it's not so scarce and the secondary market isn't so big. If you, like a couple of years ago, if you would buy the new Jordans that would come out, a fair number of them you could turn around and sell for more money right away. And now there's like less than 5 pairs a year that come out that you couldn't do that. Because
Really?
every Saturday there's Jordans coming out. And only the true collectors, there's only like certain releases that they feel like are special enough to do that over. And they have to be like, right now the sneakers have to be like so crazy for them to happen. It's like these Jordan 3s came out in 88 and in 2003 and in this year and this year. But this time when they're coming out, instead of having the Jordan symbol on the back, it says Nike Air on the back. And that's how you know that they're really OG. And so this pair is really special. And then people buy it. It's a different game a little bit.
I guess so. How many pair have you bought for this sole purpose of reselling?
A couple. There's a couple that I've seen that I can get. Like certain ones I've been able to buy for whatever reason. Like you're there or you happen to be online or like somehow
you
you
wear a
get
size
the
14.
code. Yeah, but it doesn't really change things in your favor that much because like A, there's far fewer places that have the 14s. And then B, the demand for them is smaller than for like an 11 or something like that. So it doesn't really help you out that much. But like there's a couple times where like I ended up online and there was like this weird collaboration that I could buy. And so I bought like an 11 or a 12 knowing that I could turn it around. It was really only one pair of these OVO, which is some designer in New York City, all gray Jordan 12s.
What do you think about sneaker customizers?
So when you say sneaker customizers, there's this whole phenomenon in California where people will take a Jordan and like melt the glue so that they can change the bottom and switch it out. Are you talking about that kind of customizer, or the kind of people who are like changing the sneakers and doing art on them?
I guess I'm talking about both. So like there's a previous guest of the show, friend of mine. He has gotten to the point where he will disassemble a sneaker and make patterns out of those pieces and then reassemble a whole new shoe using completely different pieces. Like he made some for Justin Timberlake out of jeans, like a Timberland flannel shirt, and like fucking sheepskin.
Whoa. Did Timberlake wear them?
I don't know if he wore them, but I know that he received them and was very gracious about it. I don't know if he's worn them. Actually, no, he did try them on when he got them, and the dude has a picture of it.
What's his name? I want to Google.
The guy?
Yeah.
My guy?
Yeah.
Well, you can look him on Instagram at The Original Shoe Chef.
Oh, yeah. Well, you just tweeted me or sent me a picture of the shoes that he made you, the Converse. Those look awesome.
He has made, I think, 10 pair right now. I think that's where we're at so far as 10.
10 Converse or 10 total sneakers?
No, so just different shoes. So like I had to make me, the Adidas Superstar clamshells.
What color? Yeah, I do.
Well, they're white and I guess white with, I think, black stripes, but I had him put the Run DMC logo on them.
Nice.
And then I sent him this pair of shoes that I got from one of my sponsors, and they were just black leather sneakers. That's all they were, just black leather. They look like low top leather Converse. That's what they look like, I guess. And they were just black. And so I sent them to him and I said, do whatever you want. And he made them look like dress shoes. He like drew stitching on them like all over the place. And then he drew like a Frank Sinatra record and a Michael Jackson record and a microphone that says Fascination Street on it. And then, a couple of different, like he drew, I don't know, roses or it looks really dope. I'll send you a picture when we're done.
I'm looking at his Instagram right now. So he took those Jordan 3s that I was talking about that are super sought after and fancy, and he put a swoosh on them to make them like Tinker style. Because Tinker, there's like a new like release of like Tinker Hatfield Jordan 3s that have the swoosh on them. Very interesting. I really like these Jordan 12s that he did.
That dude is super, super cool.
So are you a sneakerhead?
Not even a little bit.
Sounds like you might be. Yeah, I like some of the stuff he's got on here. I have to connect with this guy. We need to connect with him to make some
Maltese
official
Jordans?
Maltese Jordans.
I sent him the book.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And
he was very excited. He just got it a couple of days ago, so he hasn't
cool.
started reading it yet, but
yeah,
he was very excited.
Nice. Yeah, he's got some cool stuff on his site. So there is a pair of Jordan Low 11s that the whole patent leather part is gold, but the Maltese Jordans are 11 highs. So if you could take like that low
Wait,
pair.
didn't I send you a picture of those low gold ones?
I don't know. I had them for a little while, and then I was like, I'm not going to use these for anything. So I just like sold them back to Nike.
You can do that?
Yeah, that's the funny thing. If you buy sneakers on the Nike app, you can do whatever you want with them and return them within 30 days. But if you don't wear them, you can return them forever. So I had these sneakers for like 4 months sitting in a box, and I was like, meh, I'll just send them back. I did.
That's hilarious.
But you have to buy them on the Nike sneaker app or in the Nike store. But anyway, we could customize an Air Jordan High with gold if we had those and then mixed it with like a Concord. This would get really expensive. And I think it's okay not to do that. It's more of a mythological thing. But that's what's going on with the book is these sneakers.
So you brought up the book. Let's talk about the Maltese Jordans.
Yeah.
So what inspired this story? Well, first of all, when did you write this story? Because it wasn't yesterday.
No, I wrote this. I started this in 2014. I went to Hawaii with my wife and daughter. 4 Willow was 1. So this was like 2014 winter. I wanted to write a story that took place in Hawaii so that I could write off part of the trip. And I did that and sent it to my friend Dan, who's an editor. And he's like, this story is pretty interesting, but there's this sneaker part in it that really feels cool to me. Like, Dan and I used to play basketball back when we were at Iowa. He's a good ball player, not a big sneaker dude, but he had some Jordan 1s back when they first came out. But anyway, he's like, I really like the sneaker part. You should take this story and turn it into a novel. So basically, I just sat down in the summer of 2014 and I just wrote this book and sent it to him. And he was like, this is great. He was really into the sneaker stuff and all that. And so then I've done some revisions since then. I've added a fair amount of more stuff, but original draft was 2014.
Nice. So why did it take so long for me to get it? Actually, that's not fair because I had it a long time ago. But I guess what I mean is, why did it take so long for everybody else to get it?
So
what happened in the meantime?
So what happened was, In Broad Daylight came out from a publisher in 2013, and it did really well. And I was sort of waiting to see that it could get to like a certain level of sales before I would pitch them the next book. I just wanted to make sure that it was a success before I could pitch them the next book. And I figured, like, based on the fact that this book sold a whole lot, I would be able to do whatever I wanted to do for the next book. But when I went to the publisher in 2014 and said, all right, ready to do the next book, I am so excited about this Jordans book. I was like basically full of energy telling them about that. This is what I have. And I also have this other project that I'm less excited about. And basically, because the Maltese Jordans had a main character that was a man, and because the Jack Palm stories hadn't sold as well as the In Broad Daylight piece that had a female main character, I gave both options to the publisher. I really wanted them to take the Maltese Jordans, and they wanted me to do the other one. The Maltese Jordans was closer to done. The other one took a lot more work. And so the book that ultimately became Everyone Pays, basically they told me in 2015 or so, like, this is the one that we want you to work on. That's the book that we're going to buy. So go write that. And so I did. And I put the Maltese Jordans on hold. And then a number of different things happened. And then years later, the Maltese Jordans was just sitting in the drawer. And I was like, shit, man, this is the book that I love. I got to get back to this. So I pulled it out, started working on it again. And then it took me like a year to get it all together to release it.
And what made you decide to release it on Patreon?
I wanted to get back into doing the podcast again, like going back to what you were saying earlier. Like, I was doing the podcast through Podiobooks, had a really good audience. I was putting out serialized content every week of my podcasts. And when I finished Jack Wakes Up, around the time that you found me, this guy Mike Bennett came into the picture, and he's done really well with podcasting. And so I sort of dipped out of podcasting for a while to just publish and like see what publishers could do for me, and like step away from the whole DIY thing and try to deal with publishing in bookstores, just to sort of be able to sustain the writing financially. And in the interim, Mike Bennett had gone to Patreon and started doing really well with it. He basically supports himself with Patreon. So when I came back and I was thinking about podcasting the Maltese Jordans, he's like, you got to do it this way. Use Patreon, put it out serialized. People will pay for it. And so you get a big drop off in fans once you start charging. And also, some of my fan base had kind of gone by the wayside over the years. So I just wanted to try it on Patreon. So I did it. It took me 2 years to podcast on Patreon. And the whole thing is now out on Patreon very shortly. Maybe even by the time this comes out, it will be available on Audible as an audiobook. And, you know, still, if you could like go to my Patreon feed and sign up for $3, you can listen to all the episodes there. I'm going to package them all in one file that you can just buy for $10 on Patreon. But now what's the next step? Like, do I start releasing the podcast for free on my website to try to get people more interested in it there? I don't know what the next steps are. But anyway, I've been on Patreon for a while, and it's been really great. Lots of people have been very supportive. I have like 68 people over there. I'm not paying the mortgage with it, but it's become a really fun platform to connect with people and get that feedback from, hey, I really like this episode, but I also just can't commit to the kind of schedule that I was doing when I was younger, when I didn't have a kid. I was doing like 1 or 2 podcasts a week. I was doing my podcasts and the Crime Wave stuff. And these days, I wish I could do Maltese Jordans more regularly, but it literally was like I was able to do one episode a month. And now I have all this back catalog stuff, like all the other Jack Palms books, This Is Life, In Broad Daylight. And so those I can keep releasing on Patreon. But I've also started doing stuff that's fun, like the monthly office hours, a little bit of writing coaching on there, and some other things like that. So I'm not sure what the next phase of the Patreon experience will be. Maybe you and I will talk about that offline to brainstorm some ideas.
Well, like you said, you do have a whole back catalog of stuff that, for the most part, is probably already ready to just throw up with little to no adjustments, since they were serialized before.
I've been throwing together the In Broad Daylight episodes, like longer ones, like just chapter content for like 40 minutes an episode. Yeah, and I can keep doing that.
And if I recall correctly, that's how you developed your initial base, all those years ago, a decade ago.
Yeah, I mean, that was putting out weekly content. All of it was free. It was on my website. It was on Podiobooks. It was on iTunes. And people really started discovering it there, listening, getting it all free. And that was in a world before Serial, a very different podcasting world, when it was harder to really make your content known to folks. Or when it was easier to make your content known to folks. And so now, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what the next steps are.
Hey, streetwalkers. Well, you're not literally streetwalkers. But now that I've got your attention, I am Stephen O'Reilly, and I have a podcast called the Bar Star Podcast. And since you're listening to the Fascination Street podcast, I think you should check out my show. It's just as interesting without all the famous people, because Steve has connections that I just do not have. But if you dig podcasts about music, working musicians, and other random shit that I decided to talk about, based around music, of course, because that's what I do. I'm a working musician for the past 30 years, then you need to check out the Bar Star Podcast. You can get it wherever you get your podcast, on any platform, and make sure you check out barstarpodcast.com. Now back to the one and only Steve Owens and whatever the hell he was talking about.
At this point, it's like, I just want people that are really going to connect with the book to get the book and read it. I feel like this book combines real loves of mine. Like, I've always had a love for basketball. The 80s and 90s were when I was growing up. And so Jordan was like, not my favorite player, but like by far the most impressive player. And so I was just...
Who was your favorite? Was it Larry Bird?
I mean, I was from Boston, so I really like the Celtics. It would be easy to say Larry Bird, but my relationship with him was kind of... I had this like spoiled growing up in Boston, like, the Celtics always win. I want to see someone else. What? It's just boring that the Celtics always win. Like, I had no idea. I was a kid. But yeah, Larry Bird was great. I liked Jordan, but I just felt like because I was forward or a center, I couldn't wear the Jordan sneakers to play in because they were for fast little guys. And I think my favorite player was, I'll go with Bird or McHale. Those guys were really awesome. And Parrish I liked too. I was not a Lakers fan. I had a Detroit Pistons hat once. I really liked Ramil Robinson. That dude, when he was at Michigan, he played for Cambridge Ringe and Latin, which was where I went to middle school. When Ramil won it all with the Michigan squad, that was really amazing.
Was he on the Fab Five?
No, this was 5 years before the Fab Five. Fab Five never won it all. They got to the championship game and lost.
Oh, really?
Chris Webber called a phantom timeout after traveling. But yeah. Yeah, Ramil Robinson, that was probably 91 or 92. But yeah, I was really into Larry Bird. My girlfriend's father had season tickets, so we got to see some vintage classic Larry Bird games in the old Boston Garden. It was good, man.
On the hardwood, on the parquet.
On the parquet, yeah. I saw Larry Bird dive on a basketball and stop a 2-on-1 fast break to win the game against some really good team. So all my books have been crime fiction, except for some short stories that I know you like, and As Much Protein as an Egg. That's a personal favorite of mine as well. Do you know that one?
Yeah, you sent it to me when I was living in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you sent it to me. I read it on my phone. I've never done that before.
That's pretty funny. Do you have a hard copy of it, or do I need to send you one?
Oh, I need one for sure. I only have the E version.
Oh yeah, I'll send you a hard copy.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a hard copy.
There wasn't, and then there was,
friend.
and now I think there is. But anyway, all my books have been crime fiction, and this one is just really brings together my loves of historical basketball stories and sneakers, sneakerhead phenomenon. When I was growing up, I played basketball. I was really into sneakers. And my stepmother used to give me all these basketball books to read because I wasn't really a reader.
What the fuck is a basketball book?
Sort of like biographies.
Really?
Yeah, like people would just give me these basketball biographies and I would read them and they were like, "Oh, he actually read a book? Let's give him another one." So I read like the biography of Bill Bradley, who was on the Knicks and Princeton. He became a U.S. Senator. Manute Bol's biography, Larry Bird, Drive. There's this great book called The Big Three that Peter May wrote. There's this amazing book that I loved, which is called 48 Minutes, A Night in the Life of the NBA, written by Bob Ryan and Terry Pluto. It's this whole book. They basically wrote a whole book about one NBA game and like cataloged like every play, everything that happened about the game leading up to it that week, and then like every play throughout the whole game. It's kind of like that movie that Kobe did with Spike Lee, but a book version. So I used to read a ton of sports books. Dick Vitale's biography, book about the Fab Five, Mitch Albom.
Tuesdays with Morrie, Mitch Albom?
Yeah, he's a sports writer.
Yeah, for Detroit?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I think he wrote the book about the Fab Five, which was called Fab Five. But
that makes sense.
I was reading all these and I never got into sports writing, but I love talking about sports. And so it's like, maybe my next career will be sports writing or sports novels. So what happened in writing this book was that I just really did a ton of research about sneakers and then learned more and more about Michael Jordan and learned things about his retirement to play baseball that I never really knew. Like I didn't know that there was a whole conspiracy theory around that retirement. And so I ended up learning stuff about this conspiracy theory and spinning it into this story about these mythical, unbelievably rare, and one-of-a-kind basketball sneakers that Jordan wore in this game for the King of Saudi Arabia. I sort of cooked up that whole story and then found all this stuff that was weird about Jordan's career and his first retirement, about the gambling that he was involved with. And this was all coming after the Pete Rose gambling thing. And so it cooked up this whole like mythical basketball history story. And I don't think that certain publishers would say like, oh yeah, this is like a wide readership or something like that. But for me, it just combined all these different loves that I have. And so now I just really want to find people that connect with the book. The people that have read it so far are really connecting with it. And I'm just really excited to hear more of that feedback and get it out to more people, get it into more people's hands. Just have people who I know who are like me, who read, check it out and be like, wow, I never knew that a book could do this, and get into it and really see what they think.
Let's act like I haven't read the book. Sell me this book. Why should I read this book, Mr. Seth Harwood, whoever you are, complete stranger?
Well, this book has got a great crime angle. It's got action and thrills and fun. It's got so much sneaker knowledge that you'll never believe it. It's like Romancing the Stone, but with sneakers. It's a worldwide chase for this mythical pair of Air Jordan 11s that no one has ever seen, and they don't know if they truly exist. This story's got lots of twists and turns.
This story has
Did you just
twists.
buy it?
Well, twice. This story has twists, turns, a little tiny bit of sexy times.
Oh, yeah.
It has chases, literally traveling probably, it has to be 10,000 miles in this chase.
But it's not over the top violent. Like there's no major mayhem here. Like these guys, like there's violence, but there's no major killings. It's like these dudes are doing their business and dealing. And it's like, realistic.
So that is a little bit of a departure from some of your previous work where there's, big chase scenes and big gunfights and explosions and
Big
car
mayhem.
chases and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit more of a dignified violence, if that makes any sense. This is like your gentleman's violence. This is a Marquis de Queensberry rules.
This is like violence that we could see getting into ourselves. Like if we were a little bit better at fighting and it came time for some fisticuffs, we could get the job done, but we're not like grabbing an AK-47 off the shelf and like gunning down dudes or like getting into car fights and chases and brass knuckle brawls.
Correct.
But I want to flip the script on you and say, you've read the book. Tell me what you liked about it. What was it like for you to read the book? I know that you like my stuff, but for this particular book, I'm sensing that you've got some sneakerhead in you, and I know you like basketball. So how did this hit some of your individual like areas?
Well, I'll tell you. So, like you, I loved watching basketball in the late 80s and the early 90s and whatnot. For a lot of the listeners who are millennials or whatever, they don't really understand that every year it was either the Celtics or the Lakers. It was Celtics, Lakers every year. Celtics, Lakers, Celtics, Lakers. And they'd trade championships and they made it interesting every single time. So I used to watch basketball all the time when I was growing up. Finally we San Antonio had a team. We got David Robinson. You got his shoes.
Sean Elliott.
Oh my God.
Dale Ellis.
So, I love Sean Elliott.
Avery Johnson.
That was the first autograph I ever got. Was
that dude is so funny. His whole jaw is like the size of a big mouth bass. And the way that he talks is so funny. I used to crack up on TV hilarious. Like watching that dude talk.
Yes, that guy talks like a caricature of himself.
He is, and he is also one God-fearing mofo.
Yeah, he is. I actually got his autograph. I think it was 2 days after they won their very first championship. I got his autograph. It was really cool. He was a nice guy. Anyway, this whole sneaker thing just passed me by. I've never owned a pair of Jordans in my life. The only time I would ever really even notice sneakers is when somebody would tie them together and throw them over the electrical lines. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. And so this whole sneaker thing was basically brand new to me when I read this book. I didn't know that sneaker culture was such a big thing. I didn't know sned was a word. I didn't know sneakerhead was a word. And I for sure didn't know that you could buy and sell sneakers like trading stocks on Wall Street. That's some crazy shit.
It's different. Yeah.
So it opened up a whole world of wonder and curiosity for me. And so I'm not going to lie, as I'm reading this book, I put the book down and I'm Googling like, is this shit for real? Is this shit for real? Is this shit for real? Because I know this dude writes fiction. So is he making all this shit up? And I'm going to have to say no. As far as the sneaker stuff goes, I don't think he made up anything. And I'm including the Maltese Jordans. So that was wild to me. And then I was really heavy into, like, I wasn't like a diehard Jordan fan, but I mean, anybody who was alive and a boy and watching basketball during those times knows what a dominant force that man was in every aspect of the game and in life.
And he was just fun to watch. He was just so incredible. You had to watch it. Plus the fact that he was in the finals every year. Like if you talk about Celtics and Lakers going back and forth, once he started doing his thing, it was him every year.
Every year. And the game was never over if he was playing. I think one of his famous quotes is that he's never lost a game. He just ran out of time. And I think that was really true if you ever saw him play. Like, that guy just didn't give two fucks. I mean, he would put every single ounce of his energy into winning this game. I mean, he was just such magic. And so it was really, really weird when he retired because everybody was like, this guy's
the first time.
I mean, like Gronkowski just retired and he's 29 years old.
Yeah, but he's all
and everybody's like, what in the serious fuck?
But Gronkowski has had so many injuries. Jordan was like no major injuries at that point, or at least not for a while.
That's what made it so weird.
Right, for sure.
Is that he's like in the prime.
Totally.
And then, there was some weird shit that went down with his dad being murdered.
His dad was found dead. He had all these weird gambling things. But as a kid, like I didn't have any knowledge of like anything shady about it. Everyone was just like, yeah, that's weird. I guess he wants to play baseball. It was just this weird thing.
As a matter of fact, I have a ton of his baseball cards.
Oh my God. You better sell those.
Anyway, so, I remember at the time because, my kid was born in 92. So that was, I want to say that was really close to when his dad died. Was like either late 91 or somewhere in 92, something like that. At least that's how I remember it. I specifically remember.
Yeah, maybe.
I want to say where I was when it came across the radio that his dad was found murdered in he was in some sort of a like gold edition Toyota Camry or something.
Oh, I was going to go Oldsmobile or Cadillac.
Oh, maybe, no, it was a Lexus. It was a Lexus with a gold package.
But definitely, I don't think he won his first championship until probably, maybe 92.
Anywho.
Yeah, anyway. But
and so reading this book, it kind of filled in the gaps. Like, you know what? This all might be fiction, heavily on the might be, but there's just enough of the actual real events that are placed in this story that kind of makes you think maybe this Seth Harwood character is kind of onto something. Maybe there is some shady shit that went down. Because it didn't make any sense at the time that he retired.
Yeah.
And, looking back now that I'm a grown-ass adult and everything is fucking ruined for me because of just how we live now, there's always a crook around every corner. It is eyebrow raising, looking back going, I wonder if it really happened. And I know that it'll never happen ever, but I would love to hear Michael Jordan's thoughts after him reading the Maltese Jordans.
You don't think he's going to read the Maltese Jordans? What?
I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen.
I actually have a friend who works at Brand Jordan who has a copy. I just posted a picture on Facebook of his closet, which is stacked with Jordans, really nice pairs.
It should be, right? If he works for them?
Yeah, he works. He's pretty far up the ladder, too. He had this pair of off-white Jordan 1s that I just saw some guy buy on YouTube for $1,100. So anyway, he's got a copy, and it's in his awesome sneaker closet. So who knows what could happen. But, yeah, the chances of Jordan reading it and talking to you about it are pretty far out there.
The chances of him reading it are probably not all that far out there, but the chances of him telling me his thoughts on it are pretty far out there. Those are Space Jam odds.
Yeah. But when he retired, I mean, I was young, but I was like listening to the sports writers and reading Sports Illustrated, and like I was plugged into what adults were saying about it. But there didn't seem like there was any dark cloud. But now if you look back at the quotes, there is this one weird quote where they said, "Do you think you'll ever come back from retirement?" And he said something that involved, "If the commissioner lets me."
I feel now this may just be me remembering incorrectly or whatever, but I feel like I remember that. It wasn't like if the commissioner lets me. It was more like if the commissioner will have me or some shit like that. It sounded very bizarre. And like I said, that might be a little bit weird of me.
Well, I quoted that in the Maltese Jordans, so you might just remember it from that. There's a couple of real quotes in the Maltese Jordans that are thrown out from like weird sneakerhead dudes in the book, like remembering crazy shit and being like, well, of course, this is what Larry Bird said when Larry Bird said that was just God in a Michael Jordan costume that we were playing against. God in a Michael Jordan uniform or something like that. But yeah, I was like researching all that shit right online, and then like, this is so good, I have to put it into the book. This is so good, I have to put it into the book. Hey, what are the chances that anyone is out there still listening right now to this podcast this far in?
People listen to my entire podcast, my friend.
Well, I will tell you what. How about this? If anyone who's listening to this at this point emails me, SethHarwood@gmail.com, if you email me with the code word gefilte I will give you a special link that will give you a free ebook of the Maltese Jordans. You can download it and put it on your e-reader device. You just email me, Seth Harwood, gefilte fish, boom, I'll give you the link.
To be fair, gefilte fish is a little bit random, so make sure you say Fascination Street pod, gefilte fish.
Yeah, you could say gefilte fish. You should say Fascination Street podcast, gefilte fish, whatever
You
it
have to
is.
say
It's not
gefilte
like I
fish.
get a lot of emails all the time that are like, "Hey, gefilte fish." No, it could be like
You don't?
I just thought a good keyword. I just thought we should have like a special password, and so gefilte fish was the first thing that popped into my head. Do you think I should pick a different one?
No, I think gefilte fish is great
Gefilte fish is perfect.
as long as you accept crazy fucked up spellings.
Yeah, that's fine. And if you ever meet me at a conference and come up to me and you're like, "Hey, on Fascination Street podcast, gefilte fish," I'll give you a free paper copy of the book.
If you actually meet him in person at a con, don't say Fascination Street. Just walk up and go, "Hey, gefilte fish!"
I'll be
and
like,
just take a picture.
Bam.
Just take a picture of his face. He's like, "What the fuck?"
No, I'll be like, "Bam, here's a copy of the book." Right.
He's going to call security and be like, "That dude racially slurred me just now."
That dude who's walking out with that free copy signed of my book
Correct.
stole it from me. Go get it back.
So, do you go to cons and whatnot?
Not
Where
right.
would somebody run into you in the real world other than a sneaker store holding a coffee?
I have some readings coming up. I have a reading coming up right around here in Western Massachusetts at the end of April. I have one in Cambridge, Massachusetts at the end of April on the 29th. I have a reading in New York City just down the street from Big Sneaker Store on the back of the cover on May 14th. That's where people will run into me in the next little bit. I'm not going to any cons right now. I'm taking a con break. But yeah, May 14th, I'm in New York City. April 29th, Cambridge, Porter Square Books. April 26th, Friday night, I'm at White Square Books in East Hampton, Massachusetts. SethHarwood.com is the place to find out other dates where I will be. But you can just email me and I'll let you know. There's also, if you go to SethHarwood.com, there's a great email list that you could join where you get all kinds of cool free stuff and things like that.
Thank you for hitting those dates. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. People can come up and find me. But with the Jordan thing, it's like, I found out a lot of cool stuff. I wanted to get it out there. I just had a lot of fun writing this book.
Is it your favorite book that you've written?
It is. You know that, right?
I do. Is it because it joins your loves? It joins your 3 biggest loves?
Yeah, I mean, the short stories are really near and dear to me because there's a lot of myself in them. Young Junius was super near and dear to me because it sort of combined some of the territory of the short stories with the crime fiction. But I just feel like, my craft has evolved. I've gotten better as a writer. I would have said that Everyone Pays was like craft-wise stronger than something like Jack Wakes Up or Young Junius. And so now to be able to bring those heightened skills together with just like the real feeling of like, this is the kind of material that I love. And then just like to write it and have these twists and turns come about that I didn't see coming, things that just felt really gratifying for like the book to make this turn that like I didn't see coming. But then once it came, it's like, oh yeah, of course that's how that would go. I just really feel good about the way that it came out.
Well, as well you should. It turned out lovely. Now, when I was first reading it, I was like, where in the fuck is he going to go with this? And boy, did you take me there. Like you went to some exotic locales, but you went to some really cool places. You did some really cool things and introduced us to some really cool characters.
There's some surprises in there.
There are some surprises in there. I really appreciated that. And one of the biggest surprises, I think, was where the shoes ended up, if that's not too much of a spoilers.
It's not. I'm not going to say where they ended up. But yeah, it was like the thing that
I would like to point out to everybody that this book was written in 2014.
Yeah.
This book was, and I can't stress that enough. This book was written in 2014.
Well, it says right on page 1.
Yeah, but nobody reads that.
2014.
This book is written in 2014,
All right.
and that's very important. It's very important for how it ends, because it also ends in 2014.
Yeah, that's true. But so these two guys on the Booked podcast did a review of it, and one of the things that they said that I really liked was, the ending just felt really satisfying to them.
I agree. So the way it ends,
it's like organic and satisfying.
It is, and I think that you said, and I agree with you with your assertion, that maybe it wasn't the obvious where it was going to go until it was on paper. And then it was like, oh, well, that makes 100% sense. Like, of course it ends that way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean,
and also it sort of leaves the door open for maybe another JP adventure.
yeah, obviously he's going to go make a movie now, right?
What? He has to.
The funny thing about the end is that this guy pops up who you wouldn't expect, but then
that also made sense.
yeah, it's like this is
because
the guy.
of the context
yeah.
of why these shoes exist in the first place.
Yeah.
It made 110% sense.
So that's the thing.
That is
like,
also a person that I would love for them to read this book and get their opinion of it.
oh my
I
god.
would love that.
Oh, that would be so funny. I don't think he could
You
read
know
that
what?
far. He'd have to read like way into it to get to his own part.
You know what? I think I'm going to send it to him. I have enough copies. I'm going to send it to
Do you
him.
know his address?
Yes, I do.
That's
Everybody knows
hilarious.
his address.
You would have to put like a serious like a 1-paragraph synopsis that's like these things happen, blah blah blah, and then this happened. Like
And then turn to page X.
you need to know. Here's the thing that you really need to know, and there's actually a story here where these other things happen.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. I'm actually gonna do that tomorrow.
That's really funny. Yeah, I gotta send one to my man Russ Bankston. Yeah, but if you're, your listeners who are listening, really appreciate it, and I'd be happy to send them an ebook.
What's the code word? Gefilte fish.
Gefilt.
So I have a couple more questions before I let you go.
All right.
Now that we're deeply entrenched in these sneakers, and I do want to point out that in all the other books that you've written, I really don't feel like sneakers came out that much, and so I feel like you were kind of holding it all back and then just exploding it.
I completely
into this
suppressed it for so long. When I was in college, we used to go to the mall just to look at the sneaker stores and see what we were going to have on. Oh, you know what I was going to say too? When I was a kid, I had a little bit of money for sneakers, but I couldn't buy Jordans because they were too expensive and because I didn't think that I could play basketball in them because everyone would be like, you're not a guard. You got no handle. You can't wear those. You got to wear some David Robinsons. But I did an interview just last week with this high school kid who's doing a research paper on sneakers. And he's like, what's the first pair that you ever had? And I couldn't remember the name of them, but I remember the store was Fava. Do you remember that place?
I do.
And the sneakers that I had, which also resembled a little bit of an upside down swoosh, were the Fava Olympians. That was my first ever pair. It was black canvas Fava Olympians with a silver, it looks like the Asics thing. And I was like, man, I got some basketball shoes. This is cool. These are sneakers. And then I went to school and kids were like, what is that on your foot? Those are some cheap ass Fava Olympians that you got at the mall. Those is booty. But then I fell in with some cool kids and they took me down to this place in downtown Boston that only had the freshest, nobody's ever seen these styles. So I was able to cop some crazy shit down there that no one in my suburban neighborhood had ever seen. So I was rocking it with the Nikes. In high school, I had a pair of Nikes with the snakeskin swoosh on them.
Snakeskin?
Yeah, the swoosh on them they were Cortez Nikes, like the regular old Nikes, but the swoosh was baby blue snakeskin.
So what kind of shoes is young Junius Pons wearing circa 1987?
Yeah.
Because he has all the money. Well,
No, he
ish.
doesn't. He doesn't. He's at the bottom of the rung.
He's big enough to take whatever fucking shoes he wants. How about that?
Yeah, no, he's not stealing any shoes. I think he's wearing some Nikes. I mean, back in my mind, in those days, there was a sneaker called Troop that was kind of a big deal.
Spell it.
If you were straight ghetto, gangster fabulous, you had the Troop sneakers. Troop.
Interesting.
There was a brand called Troop. But you know what Junius had? And I had these too. He had some Filas.
I don't know how I feel about that.
He had some Filas.
Was he wearing a Fila tracksuit also?
No.
Say no. Say
No
All
Fila tracksuit, but he had some Filas back in the day. That's what Junius would be rocking, Filas or Troop. There was this one sneaker called Bold that was there for a minute, but he would have that or some Nikes, maybe some Adidas.
What about those Michael Jackson LA Gears?
No. Really? Was that a thing? Junius didn't have that. He didn't have anything that had LA on it.
Yeah, that makes 100% sense. I get that. So you told me what kind of shoes you think Junius Bonds is wearing. I personally think that he was wearing... Did David Robinson have a shoe back then? 1987?
You don't want to be running around the street in some super high ass David Robinson. Those things were like halfway up to your knee, man. If you need to run in a minute, those David Robinsons are not going to do it for you.
I'm staring at fucking Wheaties boxes right now while you're saying that. That's hilarious. Oh my God. You're fucking funny. So, Jess Harding, who is also one of your characters, a female character who I guess sells all the books. I don't fucking know.
Yep.
She is an FBI agent who kind of, she likes to look nice, but also she likes to be able to fucking get down and move if she needs to. What shoes is Jess Harding wearing?
That's a good question.
You're going to be like, she's wearing some Clarks.
Yeah. No, she's got the Cole Haan with the fancy Nike bottom on them so that she can run if she needs to. I got a pair of Cole Haan wingtips with...
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for fucking 45 minutes ago.
I got some fresh-ass Cole Haan wingtips with the Nike bottom on them. Confuses the hell out of people. People are either like, are those sneakers? Or they're like, those are really cool. Or they're like, what's on your feet? It's really weird. But I like them.
It is super, super
But
weird.
I bought those before I started going all Jordan out. So now I just go Jordan out. So I've
Mr.
bought a
Seth
couple
Harwood.
pairs since I started researching the book. I got some good pairs.
I bet you have.
Yeah. So the question
Did you get to write
is,
them off?
oh, hell yeah. And the question is, when I start doing the readings, what pairs do I wear to the readings?
Oh, shit. I think that's going to depend on where you are, right? If it's, well, it's going to be in April and May, so there's no snow.
Yeah.
So you don't got to worry about that.
On my Patreon, I will put up the 2 pairs that it might be and let people vote.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But I'm leaning towards the super fancy baseball glove leather, all leather Jordan 4 premiums that I have that I've never worn that I'm dying to take out of the box.
Now, if you've never worn them, why would you?
Because they're really nice and I want to put them on my feet and wear them.
That's a good reason.
These are like a nice leather. You could actually take these sneakers to a shoe shine, man, and have them shoe shined. So these ones I think will actually look better with time. So I think I just need to start wearing them.
Well, I think you should then. How about that?
Yeah.
Seth, I know that I've kept you kind of a long time tonight. And first of all, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me on Fascination Street and letting my streetwalkers get to know you a little bit better. It's been a while since you were on. The last time you were on was 8/20/17, which is a long fucking time ago. So thank you for coming back, and thank you for telling everybody about your newest project, the Maltese Jordans, and where they can find you. And as a matter of fact, can you hit all those again? I want you to hit your social media tags,
Oh, yeah.
Patreon website, and your actual website.
I'm on the gram. I don't even know how to tell people how to find me on the gram, but I'm doing a lot of tagging stuff on Instagram with the hashtag the Maltese Jordans. Checking that out. If they want to get the book on Amazon, they can go to the URL getbook.at/the Maltese Jordans, and that will take you to whatever Amazon you use in the world. You will see the print version and the ebook version there. They can find me and signed copies of the book at sethharwood.com. They can email me with the keyword gefiltefish, and they can find all my audio content at patreon.com/Seth Harwood. I'm on Twitter as Seth Harwood, facebook.com/Seth Harwood.
Oh, yeah?
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff. So before I let you go, Seth, is there anything that we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about that you wanted to talk about?
I want to talk about how much I appreciate you as a fan. You've been with me this whole time. You've done some amazing things to help me out in my craft. I really appreciate your appreciation. I appreciate you having a great podcast now. And I am always happy to come on and do whatever I can to help you grow this podcast, get your word out to more people. And keep it rolling with you.
Well, thank you. I think that we have been, we've been friends-ish for 10 years. More recently, more friendly, if that makes any sense. It's a growing friendship over the past 10 years. How's that? I think you're fucking amazing. I can't wait to see what you do next. I've loved every single book that you have written, all the way from Jack Wakes Up to As Much Protein as an Egg, to Checkmate. I mean, Disney, oh my gosh, A Long Way from Disney, Young Junius, you name it. I love all your stuff, and I love this new book, The Maltese Jordans, Seth Harwood. It's really, really amazing. It's a very unique story in a time where we don't see many unique things. I mean, Hollywood's just rebooting everything they've ever done right now, and it's like they say there's no new stories in Hollywood, but I feel like there's no new stories in literature right now either. So this is a fresh take. It's a very unique story. It takes you back and brings you forward all at the same time. And, it kind of schools you. It gives you a little bit of an education on some things that you might not be aware of. So I really think it's a great book, and I think everybody should check it out. Again, Seth Harwood, thank you so, so much for taking the time to hang out with us on Fascination Street.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
You have a great rest of your night, sir. And that's where you say, you too.
You too. I wasn't sure at what point the whole thing was going to stop.
Sure.
Thanks for listening to my dad.
Oh, I love that part. Hi, this is Willa. Thanks for listening to my dad.
I love when you play that.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
I think it is so sweet. This interview is over.
No, it's not.
Hey guys, this is Steve Owens from Fascination Street Podcast here with a very important message. I'm awesome. I bet you thought I was going to say something else, but nope. What's important here is that I am awesome. I started this show because I truly believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear those stories. In the short time I've been doing this show, I've interviewed actors, directors, writers, inventors, podcasters, musicians, pro athletes, Olympic athletes, actual war heroes, even a Bond girl and a luthier, whatever the hell that is, and of course, regular people. From people who wanted to be stars but never gave it a real try, to big company CEOs and people who got to meet their favorite president. I love getting to meet and speak with people who have a story to tell. I feel like everyone does, and it's my job to get them to tell it. You never know who my next guest will be. An Academy Award-winning actor, a platinum-selling musician, or your own mother-in-law. But one thing is for certain, you will be fascinated by their story. So come take a walk with me down Fascination Street. You can find Fascination Street Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and of course, FascinationStreetPod.com. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.